Hello, friends and students. This is Chris Wager with the Central Asian Productivity Research Center. Welcome you back to our spring lecture series. I'd like to introduce Professor John Collaros, founder of Ariston University. John, take it away.
Thank you, Christopher. Dear students, colleagues, and friends, welcome to the series that Christopher just reminded you of. And today it is a distinct honor for me to bring to you a special speaker, a friend of mine, a dear colleague, and a highly knowledgeable and respectable academician. Ms. Hickman holds a PhD in global leadership. She has an extensive background in advertising, media, hospitality, and live concept management, actually over 25 years. She teaches international business at some of the most reputable universities here in the Midwest. She also serves, she's not only an academician, she's also a practitioner. She gets involved in the community and serves as the president of the Northwest Indiana World Trade Alliance, which promotes cross-border trade and foreign investments. She also serves on the board of the organization that brings this series to you. And let me clarify one thing about my role so you know how I come into the picture. I'll be your facilitator. I'll be looking at your questions because we want Dr. Hickman to be concentrating on her presentation that she does so well. So I'll be looking at your questions and I'll be bringing them to her at the appropriate time. With that, Professor Dr. Hickman, the floor is yours. Welcome and thank you for taking the time to do this.
Dr. Collaros, thank you so much for that introduction. I am thrilled to be here and very excited to share the details of getting started in marketing, introduction to marketing, and what that will mean in your understanding of that particular field. It is, the word marketing is used for a variety of things, but I would like to just share a great deal of the basics today that we learn within, our, undergraduate and then graduate studies of marketing to shine light on how to promote and take a look at the products and the services that we might be required to manage. And how do we do that successfully? And what does it really mean? So with that, I would like to share my screen and let me do that now with a really fairly short PowerPoint presentation that is going to probably have you wanting some responses to questions you might have as we go through it. And I urge you to ask those questions, get those questions to our facilitator, and we will cover those. We might have some extra time at the end, and it would be great to cover whatever you need to know, but also as we go along, please ask those questions. We are here at the beginning, and from the very get-go, we can see that marketing just covers a whole swath of needs in the marketplace, generating money, reaching people, getting our message out, covering a wide terrain of territory and letting people know about our product, know what that product offers. So let's dive in a little bit and see if I can get to my next slide. I'm not very, there we go. And I've provided some key takeaways here. And I understand I'm having some feedback problems. Keep me posted on that. Is that my microphone, do you think, Chris? I could get rid of my headset if that's the case. Okay, I will get rid of this.
I hear you fine.
Yeah, you're fine, Colleen.
Colleen, are you there?
She's got to come back.
Okay.
Hello, students and friends, just hang with us for a little bit. Professor Hickman is coming back into the conference now. She'll be back with you in just a moment.
There she is.
Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yes.
Okay, my apologies for that. I don't know what happened there, but I'm sorry. So let's jump back into, okay. Okay. Chris, I'm getting a message that, did you disable screen sharing?
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, my friends, let's see if this works for us. Okay, here we go. All right, so here are the key takeaways that I hope you are able to leave the session with. We're going to look at what marketing is, but we're also going to look at what marketing isn't. There are a number of things that have been, are considered marketing, but it may not be the case. We're going to look at something known as the marketing concept, and we're also going to look at what are known as the 4 Ps of marketing, and you'll get some real clarity on that. We're going to spend some time on that. We're going to look at marketing strategy. Where are those marketing resources? How do we decide where to put those? And where are they best invested? So we'll take a look at marketing strategy. And we'll also look at how that is determined by the company's goals. What are the firm's goals? Make sure that there is, not a mismatch there, that they are, integrated in what the firm is seeking to do. And we'll also look at value and capabilities of the product or the services that are being offered. We'll also look at a key strategy tool that's known as the SWOT analysis. This is where managers and marketing managers and really even leaders take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of the organization. They look internally at the strengths and weaknesses of the company and identify those. And from there, also look then at the opportunities and threats that exist outside the company, externally, out in the marketplace. So we'll look at that. And then finally, we'll look at what is known as the Ansoff matrix. And we'll shed some light on there as we go along. So marketing is actually a process. And it's that process of planning and executing the creation, pricing, the promotion, and the distribution, not of ideas that accompanies, the distribution then of goods and services and the help to the organizations to create those exchanges. Usually it's trading, product or service for what? For money. But it could be, other types of exchanges within the marketplace. But that's the goal. Have these transactions that satisfy both the individual, the buyer, and also the organization to satisfy both of their objectives. That the individual, the buyer, is getting what was intended, what they wanted from the product or service, and that the organization is getting what it wants from that sale, which largely is a profit from it. So let's look a little bit further at what one of the professors of Wharton School of Business says about marketing. And he says that it is about understanding, attracting, and keeping valuable customers. Know who they are, know what they want. Reach them with the appeal that your product or service meets the needs of those customers. And then the goal is to keep those customers that are most valuable, that bring in the most business, profitable business to the organization. So let's keep all of these things in mind, that this is what we're seeking when we're marketing products and services throughout the marketplace, which might be in our own community, or it might be across the globe to in a foreign market. It's still all about these things: understanding the customer, attracting the customer, and then keeping those valuable customers that you have spent so much time and money and energy to get. Consequently, there are some things that marketing isn't. And one of those things out of several, and we could even add further to this list, is branding. And although marketing develops those creative elements for branding, the logo, that we grow so familiar with, like the Apple logo, the logo mark, Nestle's, BP, ExxonMobil. It also, marketing also includes the creative design and those logos and advertisements and sales materials, but it is through corporate strategy where the branding really takes shape. Where on the organizational level, the company level, is decided what kind of product are we going to put out there and how are we going to brand it? What is it going to be about? What do we want it to mean to the customer? So branding elements are part of marketing, but those larger decisions, as we would imagine, fall to corporate. Marketing isn't advertising specifically, although there are advertising elements that are part of marketing. Marketing is so much broader than just paid advertising efforts. And marketing is not, sales, although there are sales elements that come into play in marketing. Marketing creates those sales materials. Marketing creates perhaps wording that should be used in the sell of products and services, but it's not in sales itself, which is actually its own fascinating, subject that we unfortunately don't have time to cover today. Also, marketing isn't product support. It doesn't provide that day-to-day product support that companies provide in another fashion. So that is a different element entirely. In looking at marketing, the marketing concept is one in which we seek to find out what customers want, and then we give it to them. But we need to give it to them faster and more efficiently than our competitors. Find out what they want, and then we deliver it, either as a product or as a service faster and more efficiently. And why is that? Because our competitors will if we don't. And as far as efficiency, we want to make sure that it's in their hands before they decide faster and efficient. We want to make sure our product is in their hands or that they are booked for that service, that reservation, before they have a chance to change their minds. How often have we, I know I have, abandoned shopping carts online? That is because for some reason, the decision had not fully taken hold within, my own desire to press that button for pay. We want to make sure that the process is one in which, from exposure to the decision, customers are on board because we're giving them what they want, and we're going to give it to them faster and more efficiently than the competitors. So these are important things for us to consider as we are, planning how we are going to market the product or the service that a company, is in need of. And so many companies need these. And a great number of them, as you can only imagine, are those small businesses. In the United States, there's a tremendous number of small business owners that are in constant need of marketing help. And our understanding as, from university is helping to share, some of these ideas that we come up with as we go throughout our community, stopping in, how is business doing? Well, I'm having trouble with this and that. Sometimes a little bit of helpful information from the perspective that you have gained through university studies will help, those within your community who are looking to build their businesses as well. So keep that in mind, that you have a huge contribution that you can make, even from what you're learning here today. And it's important that we share those things that we know with those around us. That's how I feel. So here we are with what is known as the marketing mix. This is also known as the 4 Ps of marketing. And as you can imagine, there are 4, and they all start with P. One is place. We could even say placement. There's product, the product that we're selling. Actually, we should start with product. So there's the product that we begin with, the product or service. Then we talk about, it's an important element is the price of that product or service and how that is brought about. There is promotional plans that need to go into place. And then the placement of that product and service. And so let me talk a little bit about, I don't think the next slide is quite as involved as I wanted to share with you. So please, if you give some thought to this and maybe take some notes, if you're hearing something that strikes for better understanding of you. Some of the things that you would want to ask in taking a look at the product that you have that needs to be marketed. What is the value that the product or service is to the buyer? What value does this product bring? Does it solve a problem? Is it something that is new, that can benefit them in a way they had never anticipated? Is it a product that is one that is always needed? And consequently, you might have a lot of competition out there from others that provide the same product. Is the customer for this product, are they price sensitive? And if it's a basic necessity, oftentimes, people understandably are looking for, the lowest price, and value, yes, is a concern, but oftentimes products are just simply meeting a basic need. And with, fewer dollars these days, getting what you need at a lower price is essential for a great many people. But I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So with the product, what features does your product have that's going to meet the needs of your customer? What features does it have that you need to focus on? How are customers going to use the product? Is it easily understood? Is it a product that is going to be used daily? Is it a product that's going to be used occasionally? Is it a product that is something that is more of a want than a need? People are going to want this product. Okay, but do they need it enough to buy it from you? Oftentimes, there are a great many wants that we all have, but when it comes down to affordability, our need for that, it's not a need. And so our want has to take, second place behind buying those things that we really need. What is the product going to be called? This is a big one. How are people what are they going to ask for when they ask for your product? Is the name memorable? Is the name, understandable? Does it mean, what does it mean? And what does it mean in a number of languages? What are we going to, use in describing this product? There are lots of concerns for, especially for that latter. Latter concern, because certain names that have been branded with U.S. products over the years, have been had to be discarded because of the other aspect of the name in different languages. How is a product different from the competitors' products? Is it different? If it isn't different, why are they going to buy yours? And if it's different, How do you promote, how do you bring that element of the product? How do you focus on that as a being part of your product and what it has that a competitor's product doesn't have? Out there on the marketplace, if you've shopped for toothpaste any time in the last few years, or perhaps even more so, maybe before COVID, it's hard to decide which product to buy. Do I get one that gives me cavity protection, or do I want one that benefits my gums? Do I want one that brings out more whiteness of my teeth? Do I want a product that is sensitive for those those sensitive spots in my mouth? What do I buy? And it's real. And what if I need all of those, right? These are differentiated elements of a product. So this is why Colgate, right, can be such a successful company. I'm not. We could name others. Crest, Colgate Palmolive for Colgate, and then all the other products, Procter and Gamble. But there needs to be some differentiation if someone's going to pay more to get your product. It can't be just plain toothpaste. But thank goodness those products are out there where it's just basic toothpaste and it costs a lot lower. So that's our product. That's our P. So crucial attention, of course, is paid to that. Then there is the element of price. What is the value? I think I mentioned that earlier. I got ahead of myself. If there is increased value over what competitors are doing, you can, increase your price. You can have it might be a niche kind of product where it is only about whitening teeth, and maybe a toothpaste is the least of dental care is the least of it. And so that now is the focus. So you can charge more because you're offering this capability of that product that a competitor may not be. If your customer is price sensitive, then maybe you focus only on the basics. If your customer is price sensitive, differentiation then becomes more difficult because it takes additional costs, more money in creating the product and those costs need to be passed along to the consumer. Because once we add a profit element on top of what it's costing us to produce it, then we need to pass that cost along. So price, lots of price sensitivity, perhaps not, people that are buying a Lexus, a BMW, Mercedes-Benz, they're not so much price conscious, right? So there's that differentiation, in the quality versus, a Ford Escort. Or something like that. I drive one of those Ford Elements. So price, it really is determined by, how different your product is from the competitors. So that's a concern. And then once we know more about, the price that will be acceptable to those customers that we are looking to attract, because we know if we have, if we're marketing Lexus vehicles, we're not going after your basic guy on, I guess a good way to put this is your average person. We're looking at those that have those higher incomes. And can afford then vehicles of a higher quality. So with all of that in mind, we move on to then the promotional aspect, where we're looking then to need to promote our product to those group of people that are attracted to our product, that we want to bring our product, to the forefront in their minds, so that they are getting our marketing messages, and that we are able then that we're reaching them, whether it's through social media, whether it is through, television commercials, as we have so many here in the United States and all across the world. We've inundated with these messages that come about. But also there's, here, newspaper advertising. We use a lot of direct mail here in I know in my region, to reach customers where they live. It's very targeted aspect as far as getting a promotional message across, because it reaches right into the home. So how are we going to best reach people? We have billboards all throughout a great many of our streets and highways here, especially in the Chicago area, and I know in other parts of the states. So how are we going to, which could be ideal if we're reaching somebody that travels a lot. If we're looking for a product that is of wide interest, or is a product that is going to be available in the miles up ahead, say a hotel off of a highway, or point of interest, perhaps a campground, or perhaps a tourist attraction. Promoting that, along the path that travelers are taking would be an important aspect. So the message we want to convey about our product and its value, which is should be reflected in the price, we want to let people know about it. So that's our promotion. And then place is, where do we place our product? Where are people going to find it? Are they going to find it on store shelves? Are they going to find it in showrooms? Are they going to find it online? Are they going to, is it a product that has to be tailored to a particular need? An example of this could be jackets with your company's logo on it. This is a promotional item. Well, that has to be ordered. So how are we going to reach corporate decision makers, corporate sales teams, to use our company to buy products with their logo on it? How are we going to do this? Where are we going to place that? How do we find the right place to promote this product? So there are many ways that we could take a look at these 4 things. And it's all, of course, geared towards our target market, right there in the middle of the bullseye, the target market. But let me throw out for you, having gone over all of that, something to consider for each of these. Instead of a product, why don't we think instead of how about solution? Instead of selling a product, let's sell a solution. More and more marketers are looking at this aspect instead of the word product per se. They view their role as providing a solution to a problem that a customer might have. I need help with my dental care. So, solution is, X toothpaste. And that's going to fit your need because X, Y, Z. And here is, where you're going to find that product on your store shelves. Or perhaps it's a product that isn't on my store shelves. Perhaps I need to go to a health food store or a natural foods store in order to get a natural made product that uses natural elements. So these are things that, depending on who you are and what you make, where people are able to find it, needs to be a part of placement, and you need to direct them there. Of course, now, thankfully, online shopping is available, and no matter where we're located, we can tend to find the products that we need. But solution orientation should replace product. Let's not look at at what we're selling, but we're looking at instead how it's helping the buyer, the benefits to the buyer. Here's a solution to whatever. How would we put that in the scope of Lexus? Well, what is, a car like that? You're going to think, okay, a certain person is going to can picture themselves behind the wheel, of a car that's, exceptionally well made, right? It's a beautiful car. And with a certain level of income, a certain level of perhaps of responsibility they have in their work, they want to, put forth that image of driving a Lexus or driving a Mercedes or driving BMW. And that's an important element as well. What is our customer thinking? How do we make them see themselves using our product? So this is where there are all these different questions that come up in the course of marketing. When we look at price, perhaps instead of price, we focus on value. What value is being provided, at the price that we're offering? That is a huge concern on the part of many shoppers, if it is for, a lot of the basic needs that are out there. Instead of place, maybe we should be thinking about access. How do we access those products? It's not a matter of just putting it on store shelves anymore, is it? How do we get that into customers' hands? Making it easily accessible. And then for promotion, maybe we should view this more as education. Let's educate people on our product and why they want ours instead of our competitors. What do we offer? Why have we created this product, to suit those needs? All of these things. So I'm going to move on. I know I've talked a lot. John, do you have anything you would like to add regarding this? I know you are an expert in much of this yourself. What would you add to this? I know I need to move on, but there's just so much to cover here. And your thoughts on this before we do that?
Indeed, there is plenty, and you're doing an excellent job. But I definitely like the idea of, instead of a product, look for the education. Instead of price, look at the value. Instead of place, look at accessibility. That's an excellent analogy or comparison that you're doing there, because it is one thing to talk about price and people look into how to economize, but if value comes into play, then price becomes almost a secondary or almost irrelevant issue. So that was excellent, and I loved it. So I hope your audience and I hope our people here will enjoy this, because not very many books address what you just talked about now, Colleen. And the way that you did this comparative analysis was excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, John. That's keeping me going here as we dive into a little bit more of content here. Now this is about strategy. Just some brief dialogue on strategy. And here it's about marketing strategy. But I am of the opinion in the teaching I do and the course development that I have put together is to view strategy, whether it's a company strategy, marketing strategy, product strategy, maybe even your own personal growth, personal development strategy.
Strategy is all about the deployment of resources towards that area of concern. And let me maybe reword that. Strategy is all about taking the resources that are available and putting those toward determining where those resources are going to be used. So when we talk about resources, what are we talking about, right? Well, there really are only, well, there are a lot maybe, but let's look at just, there are really only a handful when you get right down to it. When we think of resources, I tend to identify only 5. One of them is labor, human resources, people. Those all 3 things mean the same thing. Your people. They're labor, or those are the ones we pay, those are the ones we invest money in. These are our human resources, and we are so big on human resources and that kind of language here in the United States. But, you know, these are people. So that's one resource. Another one is capital, money, the things money can buy. Where are we going to put, you know, what do we need where we need to invest money? Where are we going to put that? How are we going to spend that as we think about our strategy? Where are we going to invest that resource? So now we've got people, we've got capital, right? And land is a resource too, space. And yes, capital buys land, but land is a natural resource. So we've looked at, you know, monetary resources, we've looked at people resources, and then we have land, we have natural resources. We may not need to employ those in this kind of strategy, but, you know, in other strategies, they're critical. You know, where are we going to be located? You know, what kind of, you know, investment do we need to make in land, you know, for a manufacturing plant or for our corporate headquarters? So there are those land resources, natural resources. So that we have 3 resources so far. Next are knowledge resources. Right? What do we know? You know, how are we going to deploy the knowledge that we have as an organization, and how do we do that? And then finally, the next resource is energy or entrepreneurial behaviors. They're often used interchangeably. The application of our, you know, entrepreneurial thinking, our innovative thinking, our innovative efforts, our creative efforts. And this makes sense. You know, anytime I tackle anything, you know, we're all constrained by the same things, you know, the space that we have to do something. You know, look at that as our natural resource. We're constrained by the money we have to do something. Right now, I've commandeered an extra room here in my house for this session. And it's because I have an elderly mother and a brother living with me as well. Okay, so I'm constrained by space. So that it would be my land aspect for what I might be wanting to do. So when I'm looking at my strategy, right, for how to create, you know, an office environment, I'm constrained by space. Human resources. Well, I'm constrained by, right now, you know, it's just me. And so the help that it might be needed, you know, would require, you know, me to decide, okay, I'm going to employ an assistant. or I'm going to hire extra help. So that would be my human resources. And capital, I don't know if I already said that, I'm talking over myself, but capital, money, well, is the money there? And if I have the money, where do I put that? Do I put that in creating extra space? Do I put that in kind of reconfiguring what I've got? So, these are always concerns, even for companies, definitely for companies. Knowledge, the knowledge resource. Knowledge means, taking what we know, and oftentimes we're very unclear on that until we actually devote time to that, which is a critical resource, which none of us have enough time really to do all of the things that we want to do. Well, first of all, we don't have enough time to do all the things that we need to do, and certainly then not enough to include all the things we want to do. And then lastly, energy. Strategy. Where are we going to put our energy? Invest in that, those entrepreneurial behaviors. I don't work at the same level as I did, 20 and 30 years ago. Energy is a huge concern. I see that even in my university students. They are just tapped out, we would say, in the United States. Their energy is spent. Oftentimes in jobs, they're students, but they're also workers. They are all, they're spending time studying. They're spending time with family and meeting other needs that might be required in the household. They're spending time with friends. They may be spending time with activities. There's never enough time. There's never enough energy. There's never enough money. There's never enough help, right? We never have enough space. Well, we are just exactly like a company. They have those same problems. So when we talk about strategy, we're talking about where to put those resources. And here we're going to talk about marketing strategy. And this is where that focus is. Marketing strategy is an endeavor by a company to positively differentiate itself from competitors. And they do this by using its corporate strengths to better satisfy customer needs in any given, whatever the environmental setting. So we want to make sure that we are viewed differently from our competitors. And that could be any number of things. It could be a better product quality. It could be better value. It could be more attractive product. Could just be more, visually enticing. It could be a product, right, that just adds a bit of upscale appearance versus one of our competitors. And your customers might like that. So it could be just enough differentiation that it can yield increased profits for your company. So what is the strategy? These things need to be taken into view. Of course, marketing plays only a role in what the company needs to do, right? And just as a reminder, and not that we need to be reminded if we're a company, but as students oftentimes, here's what matters to companies. Meeting performance objectives, meeting targets as far as sales, as far as profits, as far as growth, as far as, meeting customer satisfaction goals. And here are some that are important to companies. What are the profits? What profits did we see this month or this quarter? What does our growth look like? Have we increased our market share? Have we increased sales? You know, how are our competitors doing? Or how are we doing against the competitors? And there are industry figures that are out for you know, most industries that can give you some sort of perspective on how your competitors are doing. How are we doing on innovativeness? You know, what's in the pipeline for research and development? Is there anything? Are there any strong, you know, candidates out there of products that we can introduce into the marketplace going forward? If we're a service company, you know, how are we adding to our innovative efforts? What are we doing that will appeal to customers that our competitors are not doing? Creative, innovative ways to reach and increase sales and profits. I have profitability here. Of course, those are the same things. But with companies, if it's multiple products that they sell, they're looking at the profitability of each product. Oftentimes, companies realize that specific products are no longer as profitable as they were in years past. And this is why we don't see them on the shelves anymore. They may be just abandoned and no longer produced. And this is something companies need to stay on top of. What worked in the marketplace 10, 20 years ago just may not be suitable today. Plain aspirin, bare aspirin, still a huge seller. Still, I'm sure, very profitable because of its name strength, its brand strength of its name. People will pay that premium price for bare aspirin instead of buying, as I do, generic aspirin. But my mother, who's 93 years old and grew up with the belief and understanding that bare quality is unsurpassed, and she's probably right, you know, we'll pay, you know, $6 for a bottle of aspirin while I walk out the door with, you know, $1 bottle of aspirin. That matters to her at her age, right? And with her history of buying, then it matters to me. So bare, you know, is consistently profitable. However, because there are so many generic brands of aspirin, likely, you know, the profitability of their aspirin alone may not be what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. And what happens then? Then they start introducing bare for arthritis, bare for migraine headaches, bare for severe pain, or I don't know, there are several out there. And so now people are reach for that. All right, so this is a differentiated product. As people are viewing the name bare and they recognize the brand, they need that extra help in getting rid of their headache or in getting rid of arthritis pain, or perhaps they have high blood pressure. You know, I think there's bare for high blood. There are all of these differentiated products that have been created by companies because now they are more targeted as a product, and they're differentiating their product from just regular aspirin. Because of a generation like me, and probably more so for a lot younger students that will just buy plain old stuff. So profitability with each product needs to be viewed separately. And then another goal is, how are we utilizing our resources? You know, how we've invested our money, you know, as far as in our people. You know, how are we doing with that? Have we had that payoff? Have we had the opportunity to see a return on our use of space that we have leased? Or what is the return on what's happening at our manufacturing plants? Are we successful in how we're using our capital? Was that well invested? These are concerns. These need to make sure that these are meeting objectives, the performance objectives of the company. Another concern is what has been our contribution to owners, right? So that's where profits come in. You know, what have owners been allowed to share in? Have they gotten, is there a measure of that being returned, profits being returned to our owners through stock, through their stock investment? How about what kind of contribution are we making to customers? Are we investing in, you know, further development? Are we finding, is customer satisfaction strong? How are they viewing our product in their lives? How are we contributing to their communities? You know, what are they seeing in their own communities that might connect our product to their daily lives? How about our contribution to employees? Are they seeing, you know, are they seeing a measure of our success affecting their pocketbooks? Are we sharing in profit sharing opportunities? Or perhaps, you know, improving upon, you know, the work environment for our employees? How are we doing there? You know, and how do we even measure that? Well, we might be able to do surveys of our staff, of our workers, of our paid workers, of our part-time workers. And how about our contribution to society as a company? How are we doing there? This is more important than ever, at least here in the United States. Looking at corporate social responsibility and also looking at our sustainability efforts, you know, for a better world. And there are ways of evaluating this, but these are becoming more important to our customers and our employees than ever before. And we often see this in the daily news. You know, customers are revolting against a product because of some action that company may have taken. Same thing for employees. They may be balking at a measure that the company is wanting to take that stands against social responsibility. So these are concerns that a company needs to have. So when we talk about marketing, we have to remember that all of these things are in the background, right? All of these things are important to the company whose products we are marketing. And they're all important. You know, profits, yeah, more important overall. And why? Because if a company is not making money, you know, it can't really do much of anything else. It's not going to survive. It's not going to thrive. So with all of that said, let's move on to our next slide, and that is value and capabilities. So in looking at our products and what we offer, our services, a company has to identify value opportunities that match its distinctive capabilities. So if we have an energy drink that is similar to Red Bull, which is a fascinating company all of its own. It's an Austria-Thai company that is, you know, just the market leader when it comes to those energy drinks. One that comes to mind here in the United States for me is Monster, is another one, but of course there are so many. But say we're a fairly newcomer to that particular product, that kind of market. How do we start to compete? We would want to identify value opportunities that would match the distinctive capabilities of our product. So we would want to be clear on what our product provides. Maybe we would want to, identify what our product can do, maybe that some of the others can't, whether it is, different flavor, or if it's different, or if it serves, like at a different, towards a different energy level. Being distinct, making sure that we are able to identify the value that matches our distinctive capabilities. And Red Bull has certainly done that. Its price reflects that it is the market leader, and people are recognize the distinctiveness of that, and it's seeing the rewards of that. And then finally here, with value and capabilities, a company has to decide where and how it can offer superior value, and then direct those distinctive capabilities to those customer groups that are willing to purchase such value. So it's all about reaching those customer groups that are going to actually, shell out money, as we would say here, but they're going to actually buy, your product. And it might be an ultra young group, or it might be a very young, like a teenage group. But for energy drinks, it probably is you're a specific kind of athletic level or activity level that people and it tends to be a younger group, select for their activities, their active lifestyles. Here's the thing about customer value. We take a look at our product and what we've invested in it, what the costs are. And then we add in additional value through the creation process so that the benefits exceed what our costs are in that product. And this is the value then. And it's usually a perceived value. It may not be clearly stated, but it needs to at least be a perceived value of that product versus competitors. And we can see if we were to take a look at, Apple, say the Apple iPhone, which is unlike any other, smartphone, right? And its price reflects that. The value that it builds into its product would have been unimaginable, before Steve Jobs introduced it to us, and Apple as a company introduced it to us, because the costs of making the iPhone are extremely low versus the benefits that are perceived. And oftentimes these are perceived benefits. There is the prestige of having an Apple iPhone. Then there's the benefit of enjoying its styling, its ease of use, how it's the apps that are available on it that you can use that can make your life easier. So all of that's value that is perceived by the customer, and this is why they are able to charge $1,100, $1,500 or something for their product, when a normal smartphone could be in the neighborhood of, I don't know, $400, $500. I'm not sure. So customers, how do customers perceive the product that you're involved in marketing? We could also take a look at this and take it and put it and apply it to our corner, I don't know, a corner store, maybe a corner. We have a sports bar not far from here, from where I live, and it's in a sort of a mall, an outdoor mall setting. So let's take a look at something like that. And so, going there versus another location, it's like what, costs are involved with that, what's being offered at what price. And then what comes into play is the value that I would receive, or someone like me, well, not me, because I'm not their target customer, but, customers perceive there are other things that add to the value of that particular sports bar. It could be the ambiance, right? Just the music that's playing, loud music. It's usually, rock music. It's dim lighting for the most part. They've got TV screens all throughout for sports and stuff. The way the bar is configured. They've got, I think, a pool table in there and some other sorts of activities that are geared largely, of course, perhaps to a man's taste. So anyway, a customer would look at that place versus another place to be maybe on a Sunday afternoon and see what value comes from it. Perhaps they like the bartenders. This one has some female bartenders. I think there are others, some guys. They may be there too because of the food aspect that is also being served. They may prefer that location because maybe it's just close to home, So value is perceived. I don't value most of those things that I've just mentioned. I don't play pool. I don't go to bars, right? So, but I have gone there to see what it's like. And oftentimes, just to take a break from a long work day, I'll take my laptop there. But even though I'm not their target customer, I can see the appeal. But anyway, adding that customer value is critical when you're marketing your product. And this is something you want to keep in mind. They're not necessarily buying exactly what you're selling. They have reasons for buying it because it appeals to them, because it meets a need that they have, because the product is giving them something, right? And it may not be what they're buying. I will go to the store and buy a steak, ribeye, a New York strip steak that I can put on the grill. I'm not really buying a piece of meat. I am buying the joy of eating, a steak off of my grill. That's what I'm buying. The grocery store is selling a piece of meat. I am buying the experience of an evening, sharing, a couple of steaks with friends, maybe over a glass of wine. So that's what I'm looking towards. That's my goal when I'm buying something like that. It goes way beyond what I'm buying. And it's products like that can ask for more premium value. So with that, I think I'm not done. Okay, I've got more to go. So I'm gonna have to kind of pick up the pace here. We are now going to talk about what is known as a SWOT analysis. And this is a strategy tool. And I'll get into a little bit more of what the tool is. It is designed it's a critical step in strategy development of a company. And it's used to analyze both the external and the internal environments of a company. It helps assess a firm's strategic direction by looking at its resources and capabilities. Capabilities being the applied use of those resources. the people aspect of those resources. It helps assess a company's strategic direction by looking at what a company has, or perhaps what it doesn't have when it comes to resources and capabilities. And the information that comes out of it can be used for, for formulating goals, for looking at opportunities, and for planning. So let's see what that looks like. This is what the tool itself looks like. You'll see where the word for SWOT comes from. Strengths, weaknesses are viewed from an internal, inside the company viewpoint. And opportunities or threats are viewed looking at the external environment. And here's what that looks like. So as you can see, strengths and opportunities is where we take a positive view. What have we got and what's out there that's going to make a difference that we've got that's really, good going on. And then the negative is, what are our weaknesses as a company? And out there, what are the threats that we're facing or that we might be facing? And here are a list of some of the areas of strength or areas of weakness that you might have as a company. Your company reputation might be a strength, or it might be a weakness if you've encountered problems. I'm not going to go through this whole list, but in your handouts that we had provided that you can get, this is going to be listed out. And looking financially, the company may be financially strong or not. It could be a weakness. But again, we're looking internal to the company, to the organization. Organization-wise, what's our leadership like? And it's hard to, be honest about that sometimes when you're in meetings like this, but maybe there are some gaps. How about, corporate culture? Is it a good place to work? How do your employees feel? That could be a strength or a weakness. Being brutally honest has its rewards. It's not always rewarded in the workplace though, but it does help you face reality when it comes to looking at a company, looking internally. Just like if we were to look within ourselves, right? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And as a strength, we can create that list for ourselves. I'm clear-headed, I always try to do the right thing. Maybe it's a weakness, impatience. That could be a weakness. That's definitely a weakness. But just as we would do that we look internally. This is what we're doing here with strengths and weaknesses. Perhaps our manufacturing plants, our facilities aren't so great. Perhaps they're old. Perhaps they need to be overhauled, and we haven't done that. We keep putting it off. Perhaps we're weak on innovation. Our R&D departments haven't turned out any really, strong products in a few years. These things need to be viewed. And again, it's from an internal perspective. Here's a less full list, but these are areas of opportunities or threats. Our competition would be a threat. What does that look like? What's our competition look like? Is it strong? That needs to be noted. What's our supply chain challenges? Is that a threat? Right now, heading into the middle of 2022, almost every company would view the supply chain challenges as a bit of a threat. And yes, a lot of times people say, well, we don't look at problems, we look at opportunities. That's good for that kind of mentality, to not view things as a problem, but to view them as an opportunity to come out of the problem. But in looking at SWOT, you want to take a look at what are some real threats to your in the external environment. How about industry trends? How's the industry trending? If it's trending down, there's some real concerns there. That's a threat. How about, the economic environment? Tremendous threat in many places today, including, definitely here in the US, where we're facing, rising inflation. How about the government? How about regulation by the government? That could be a threat if the government gets more involved in regulation. And yet, if less regulation is on the horizon, as occurred during some of, I think during the Reagan presidency here in the United States, things were deregulated. That opened up huge opportunities for companies throughout the country. How about the political environment? If it's going to change, that could be a threat. Unless it's looking to change for the better. I would say right now, if we're looking at France, there's a presidential election coming up. And the government there could change drastically if one of the candidates is elected. So that's definitely a perceived threat in being viewed from that perspective. How about, there are other things too, markets. An opportunity might be, foreign markets. If you're a company that doesn't do, exporting or foreign direct investment, new markets can be found in those by doing those and other things as well. So I'm going to go past this and finally introduce, so we can have time for a few questions. This is the hands-off matrix. And I'm introducing this so you'll have just a taste of this. And this is viewed from the perspective of where your product is at. And John, maybe you can help me out a little bit with this. And risk. Because if you're looking at existing markets and existing products, you're familiar with what risks exist. But if you're going into new markets, there's far greater risk. And if you're going into new markets with new products, as in the bottom right, diversification quadrant, then it's very risky. So anyway, John, do you have any thoughts?
Well, basically, this is a chart that helps a company develop and expand in different areas. And the ways that they do that may be, let's take the first quadrant, the yellowish one. Basically, what they're saying is go to existing markets with the already known existing products and try to promote market by introducing the techniques that you just mentioned, so you can enhance your bottom line. Now, if you go right across to the red quadrant, you're still working with existing markets, but now you're introducing a new product. A university, for instance, may be approaching the same students, but now it may be saying, we also have a program in this field that you may not have seen before or was not available before. So these are ways to attract more students or generate more income. If you go down to the bluish area, basically you're saying now, well, let's go to a new market. For instance, your university may now approach, let's say, foreign students, and they go with the already existing products, the programs that the university has, but we now go to international markets. And finally, the green quadrant says both new products and new markets. So basically you go, let's say, as I mentioned before, to new markets such as foreign students with the new products, So you may say, our university is known for all these products and programs and everything else, but now with these new markets, or to these new markets, we bring in these new products. So these are ways of developing and growing your business, expanding in different areas.
I couldn't say that better myself. That is just absolutely
Okay.
perfect. And the riskiest of all is that green quadrant, diversification, where you are bringing new products into a new market. There are so many question marks that it is just the highest risk of all. So with that, I think I'm finished with that presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, stop share. And we can open it up for any questions that may have come through or any questions that may be offered now. It's just been a pleasure to share this information with you. I look like I'm, yeah, okay. So yes, what if, take a look.
Doctor, I don't see any questions, but you need to be commended for the excellent presentation, especially for an introductory course of marketing. You went in a lot of depth and analysis and coverage of materials that we don't see, but usually at the master's level. So excellent job, very comprehensive, very detailed.
Well, thank you,
well
Dr.
presented.
Caleras. Thank you for that. I have enjoyed sharing this, and I'm not sure if my email is available to others, but I would certainly, Chris, or I want to make sure I get it out there to the students, whether it's today or at another time, in case there are questions related to it. And the PowerPoint, yeah, I wanted to cover some basics, but sometimes, only through examples do we understand better what we mean by certain concepts. And there's just a lot to be learned also online. There are so many open education resources that include actual textbooks that I encourage any and all students to take a look at that, to build your own understanding, because it really falls to us to make sure that we learn. And we can't only hold our professors accountable for that. We have to add to what they provide us with. So I am ready to sign off, if that's okay with you, Mr. Facilitator.
Yes,
and I
it's
thank you
perfectly
again.
fine. Job well done. And I hope our students and our listeners in general enjoyed your thoughtful presentation. Very comprehensive.